Hello everyone, my name is Dylan Red, and welcome to my uh, Christian Heritage Research Project video. My research project video was on the Quakers in Colonial and Revolutionary America. Now, the Quakers, as I've kind of stated previously before in many other discussion boards and stuff, were a very pacifist group that originated in England under the leadership and founding of George Fox. And George Fox was very friendly with the crown and were very supportive of royalist authority, and that grew a great big influence in English society, as much to the point where William Penn, who was a friend of the king at the time, was able to be granted land which would become parts of Pennsylvania, Delaware, and other areas in New England area, where he could found a royal experiment, I would say, for religious freedom, because that was a very interesting thing, and the Quakers wanted to see how feasible that would be, and to be a shining light on a hill for all of Christianity, that hey, we can all get along. There shouldn't be this many wars, persecution, when we are all believing in Christ. The Quakers were very friendly with the Native Americans, and it was only until later, when they fell out of government, that even the Quaker founded governments of like Pennsylvania proved very hostile to the natives, and they had a very progressive idea on abolition of slaves, because they saw every human being as a vessel of God and the inner light of God in Jesus Christ. So that person should be treated as such, as a creation of God and made in the image of God. And that proved very controversial and led them to some persecution in the South, most likely, most definitely. And due to their charismatic beliefs and their very liberal ideas, this led them to face some persecution in New England from the Puritans, who were very legalistic, very strict, very staunch. And so that was a hard time, especially with the case of Mary Dyer, who I also did a discussion board on her life and her controversy, and how later research exonerated her. And as I said, in the Revolutionary War, since the Quakers were really pacifist, they did not fight in the war, and that led to some suspicions of them being traitors and being frowned upon, and that did not go well with them. And even in the case of, during that time, they had a reformation during that time, which made them more pushback away from governing roles and become more aesthetic, I guess, and the best way to describe it. So they lost out of that government influence, though during that colonial time they also had a major influence on, especially with religious freedom, which many laws, like here in Virginia, were passed, were kind of motivated from those Quaker ideas of religious freedom. The Quakers allowed women to be preachers, and of course abolition of slaves. And their ideas were so influential, even though during the time of the Revolution they were not influential themselves, seeped into the foundations of the Bill of Rights, Constitution, and the Declaration of Independence, which is very interesting. But that's all I have on the Quakers, and well, thank you. Goodbye.